what I'll try to do right now is provide an unpacking of how the prize money, participation money, and preparation money is how it works. Because I think it's important to understand these details. I think there's a lot of things printed about certain amounts of prize money that are it's a sort of there's three layers to it, so it's important for people to understand. So I'm going to try to be precise in my numbers here. When you are in the World Cup, there is $2.5 million provided for what is called preparation expenses. These types of expenses offset some of the very significantly elevated costs that go into whether it be a preparation camp or other things that federations may invest in to get their teams ready for the tournament and some of the other associated costs. There's $10 million available that's provided. That's called group stage participation money. So everybody in the tournament is awarded $10 million. Some of this money for us has been again used to absorb some of the costs of participating. This includes player compensation in the group stage. We've published transparently, the CBA is out there for everybody to read. Compensation for players not only includes base wages in the group stage, but also a friends and family allotment in the group stage. So there are numerous expenses that are associated with the group stage participation money. We also are able to take some of that money and apply it against our overall P&L at the end of the year to generate some of the surplus that we are forecasting, which is natural in a 4-year cycle where the Men's World Cup is typically a year, if you qualify, where your revenues are very much are elevated and your expenses are also elevated. You see a similar effect in the women's, but it's not as profound an effect yet. The main takeaway being in that $10 million, it's used for various expenses that are associated. Plus, we will retain some of it and apply it towards the end of the year bottom line. The prize money for advancing to the round of 32 was 2 million USD, and for advancing to the round of 16 was an additional 4 million USD. That money, using the 2 million USD as an example, per CBA, half of it is put into the player pool, and that is further split between the men's team and the women's team per CBA, which again, you all can read if you haven't already. So Canada Soccer retains 1 million of that. There are bonuses that are paid to the coaching staff for advancement, increased expenses associated with advancement. Canada Soccer's share is diluted, if you want to call it take home, is diluted down pretty substantially. But this is the nature of operating in the World Cup. Right. And it's the nature of operating in an environment where we have a player compensation structure where they're not actually earning base wage for the knockout games, but rather they're earning the 50% of the prize money as their compensation. So the point being, it's not a windfall in the sense that some people might think it is when you read some of the numbers that are published, when you take into consideration how the player CBA works, which is consistent with other player CBAs in similarly structured federations, and then some of the other costs of advancement, whether this be operational costs, bonuses that are paid to the coaching staff in addition to the players. So it's positive for sure, but as a business strategy, advancing in the World Cup is not necessarily the primary lever that we're trying to pull for revenue, if that makes sense. Hopefully that might be a longer explanation than you all were bargaining for, but I wanted to offer a completed explanation so that there was some clarity there. Of course, like the more professional soccer in this country, the better. And the conditions that enable professional soccer to thrive involve a robust and healthy media ecosystem that is investing in it, corporate Canada making investments in it, increasingly investors, whether they be private investors or brands that are looking for marketing return, having the opportunity to learn about and understand that this is Canada's fastest growing and most globally relevant sport. I think the conditions for helping facilitate this are driven by the national teams and the success and the TV ratings. And that, like, I think what we just accomplished over the last however many weeks is an example of the power of this sport. And I would put that in the column of Canada Soccer doing its part to try to demonstrate the commercial viability of professional soccer in Canada. We want and work with a number of different parties to try to continually positively impact that. And it's something that's really important to the continued growth of the sport is more professional soccer. I'm not sure exactly how what Jesse has said is received internationally, to be honest. I back Jesse. Jesse's backing the team and the players. I think sometimes the sort of enthusiasm and emotion that is expressed by everybody, including Jesse, can be received out of context from media that aren't necessarily fully up to speed on the type of breakthrough that this tournament has been for Canada. I thought that the tournament was successful on a variety of fronts. I thought Jesse's performance was obviously highly positive on a variety of fronts. He's always going to back the team, and I'm going to back him. Obviously, you guys know he's very committed to the project and committed to the pathway. And he's actually going to be involved in the coaching of the U20 CONCACAF Championship himself, recognizing how important the Olympic Games are. He's actually making calls today to clubs to work on player releases and working with the sporting staff on that tournament. The level of commitment from us to continue to optimize at the youth level is robust, and it extends all the way from the men's first team coach. The option and the presence of Canada as a friendly destination becomes more on the forefront of the global football community's mind, which is great. There are still some things that need to be considered in terms of scheduling and travel distance. And if opponents come in, there needs to be the right number of teams to be able to play the right type of rotation within a window. And so there's still some complexities, but performance and recognition globally is only a positive, obviously. As far as the economics are concerned, I think we've been creative in a few instances in trying to secure the highest profile opponents. There hasn't been any situations in the last, 18 months where we've had to turn down somebody because of an appearance fee. Like, it's just in the last number of months, especially in the build up to the World Cup, our experience recently has been that availability, location, variety of different opponents in North America have been bigger barriers than cost. So we'll see how that plays out as we go forward, in the first part of the next cycle, but it's something that we're trying to work on to optimize our opponents. We've been communicative with Whitecaps ownership, the MLS, and a number of different stakeholders in that situation. Obviously, everybody wants the Whitecaps to remain in Vancouver, and our level of concern, should they leave Vancouver, is high for a number of different reasons. Like, the loss of a professional club would be problematic, and the player development history of the Vancouver Whitecaps is obviously significant and would need to be replaced somehow. As we consider what the future looks like, we want to consider a future where the Whitecaps and all of the existing professional clubs and then some are part of it. And we just need to make sure that that outcome has the highest probability. And as I said earlier in my comments, like, Canada Soccer can only do so much to impact the business conditions on the ground that enable professional soccer to be successful. And we hope that other stakeholders understand that. And in the information I'm receiving, that there is that understanding increasingly in this particular situation, but we hope it can be resolved in a positive fashion. Yes, we would love to compete in the Copa America. We have a track record of one appearance and a successful, albeit incomplete, tournament for us. And we have not had formal discussions about the Copa America yet.